Close your eyes for a moment. Feel the weight of your hand resting wherever it is right now. Notice the slight tension in your fingers, the warmth or coolness of your palm. Now imagine lifting that hand and in one continuous motion, without hesitation, without correction, drawing a perfect circle in the air. No pausing, no second guessing. Just one fluid movement that begins and ends in the same breath. This is Enso, the circle. In Zen monasteries across Japan, monks spend decades learning to paint this single brushstroke. Not because the circle is difficult to draw, but because everything you are shows up in how you draw it. There's a story about a young monk who came to study under the Zen master Hakuin in the 18th century. The monk had studied calligraphy for years. His technique was flawless. His lines were controlled, precise, beautiful. On his first day, Hakuin placed a blank sheet of rice paper before him, handed him a loaded brush heavy with ink, and said simply, "Draw the circle." The monk lifted the brush with confidence. But the moment the bristles touched paper, something changed. His hand, so certain a moment before, became aware of itself. He could feel Hakuin watching. He could feel the weight of the ink, the texture of the paper, the possibility of failure. His circle began well, but halfway through, his hand hesitated just slightly. The line thickened. By the time he completed the circle, there was a small gap where the beginning and end failed to meet. Hakuin looked at it for a long moment. Then he said, "You have painted your mind." Have you ever started something with complete clarity, only to lose it the moment you became aware of yourself doing it? Share your experience in the comments below. I'm curious how this shows up in your life. The monk didn't understand. He had drawn a circle, nothing more. But Hakuin saw everything, the hesitation, the self-consciousness, the gap between intention and action. The Enso reveals what you hide from yourself. It shows where you doubt, where you force, where you disconnect from the moment. You cannot fake it. You cannot think your way through it. Either your discipline is complete or the circle shows where it breaks. If this teaching resonates with you, leave a like so others walking this path can find it. The monk spent the next year painting circles. At first, he tried harder. He focused on his technique, on keeping the pressure even, on making the circle perfectly round. Every circle showed his effort. They were tight, controlled, lifeless. Hakuin would glance at them and say nothing, which was worse than criticism. Then the monk tried loosening his grip. He told himself not to care about the result. But these circles were sloppy, careless, and they revealed something else. The pretense of not caring is still caring. You can see trying in a brushstroke. You can also see pretending not to try. Months passed. The monk began to notice something. On the days he painted the best circles, he couldn't remember painting them. His hand moved, the circle appeared, and there was no moment of decision between the two. But these moments were rare, accidents almost, and he couldn't make them happen by wanting them. One morning, he sat before the blank paper as always. He lifted the brush. But this time, he didn't think about the circle. He didn't think about Hakuin watching. He didn't think about succeeding or failing. He simply moved, and the brush followed. When he set the brush down, there it was, not perfect in the geometric sense. The line varied in thickness. The circle wasn't exactly round, but it was complete. It was alive. Beginning and end met in a way that felt inevitable. Hakuin looked at it and smiled. Now you are painting from discipline, not toward it. This is what the Enso teaches. Discipline is not something you build up toward. It's not a destination you reach after years of grinding and forcing. True discipline is what remains when effort becomes unnecessary. It's the state where action flows directly from clarity, with nothing in between. No hesitation, no second guessing, no gap between knowing and doing. Miyamoto Musashi understood this. In the Book of 5 Rings, he wrote about the strike that needs no preparation. The warrior who has mastered his art doesn't wind up, doesn't telegraph, doesn't think and then act. The decision and the movement are the same event. This is what he called striking from the void. The sword moves because it must, not because you make it move. Most people think discipline means forcing yourself to do hard things, waking up early even when you don't want to, training even when you're tired, staying focused even when you're distracted. And yes, this is part of it, but this is only the beginning. This is discipline with friction. You're still fighting yourself. You're still creating a gap between what you want to do and what you should do, and then using willpower to bridge that gap. The Enso points to something deeper, discipline without friction. When the circle flows from your hand, you're not fighting to draw it. You're not resisting the urge to stop halfway. You're not congratulating yourself for finishing. You're simply expressing what is already complete within you. But here's what the monks discovered. You can't skip to this. You can't decide one day to paint perfect circles through pure intention. The only path is through 10,000 imperfect circles, through the frustration of watching your hand betray your vision, through the humiliation of seeing your gaps and wobbles and hesitations on paper undeniable. The Enso is perfect discipline in one brushstroke, but that one brushstroke contains every failed attempt that came before it. This is the paradox. The circle looks effortless because enormous effort went into building the capacity for effortlessness, but the effort itself must eventually disappear. If you're still aware of trying, you haven't arrived yet. The circle will show it. What does this mean for you now in your life? Look at where you're still fighting yourself. Maybe it's the morning routine you force yourself through. Maybe it's the work you resist starting. Maybe it's the conversation you keep avoiding. Wherever you feel friction between intention and action, there's your incomplete circle. The way forward isn't to force harder. It's to paint the circle every day, knowing it won't be perfect, but painting it anyway. Each repetition isn't building willpower, it's dissolving the gap. You're training your hand, yes, but more than that, you're training your mind to trust the hand. You're learning to move without interference. Tell me in the comments, which practice will you begin tomorrow? Your reflections often show me what I couldn't see myself. Eventually, if you stay with it, something shifts. The thing you once had to force becomes the thing you simply do. Not because it's easy now, but because the question of whether to do it no longer arises. The discipline becomes complete. The circle closes. If you found value in this teaching, consider subscribing. It helps this wisdom reach those who are searching for it. The monk who studied under Hakuin spent 3 more years at the monastery. By the time he left, he could paint the Enso in his sleep, but the circle itself had become unimportant. What mattered was what he learned through the circle, that perfection isn't the absence of flaws, it's the absence of division. When you stop fighting yourself, when action flows directly from clarity, that's when the circle completes itself. This is available to you right now, not someday when you're more disciplined, more focused, more ready, right now. Choose one small practice, not something dramatic, not a complete life overhaul, just one thing you'll do tomorrow and the day after and the day after that. Paint your circle, watch what it reveals, and keep painting until the day comes when your hand moves and you're no longer aware of moving it. That's when you'll understand. The circle was never about the circle.